Hey friends, this is episode 100. We made it.
Woohoo!
We're just going to end this episode. It's just going to be a fun conversation, just a way to celebrate this huge monumental moment. I didn't really think it was that monumental, but like the more people I share the podcast with, they're like, you guys are almost to 100 episodes. So I just thought, oh, well, that must be a big deal. So we are going to just ask questions and have fun in this episode just to celebrate this monumental thing.
Our milestone.
Our milestone. That's what I was looking for. So Carmen, I have my first question for you. We're at 100. What is your favorite thing about doing this podcast?
Ooh, my favorite thing about doing the podcast. So, my favorite thing. So I think, I don't know, this may sound weird, but like sometimes brainstorming our episodes, sometimes it's like, oh, okay, what are we going to talk about today that we haven't talked about already, and trying to figure out what are we going to share with folks today. Sometimes that can be a little slow process for me and for my brain to like kind of get wrapped around it. But once we start talking about a topic and exploring that topic and bringing it down to a tangible level that people can relate to, is probably the most exciting part for me, because it's taking these ideas and these concept and these tools that we're trying to share with folks and teach them, and trying to make it applicable. Like, what does that look like in everyday life? And whether that's talking about the immune system, or whether that's talking about, something in the naturopathic world, or in the coaching world, or in the mind body world, or even like in the world of physics, and even something that may seem a little bit out there, right? And being able to bring it, to make it more tangible for folks, is probably the most exciting part to me, because then people can relate to it, and then they get excited, right? They're like, oh, I heard this episode, and I loved how you explained this, and so it made it more applicable to our daily lives.
Yeah. Cool.
That's exciting for me. Okay, so I want to ask why. So we're at episode 100, right? And I have to be honest, right? When you first came to me and said, hey, Carmen, let's do a podcast. I was a little bit hesitant. I didn't know what that would look like. I didn't know what that would mean. I always feel like, if that was gonna mesh well. But so now we reflect on it. And why a podcast? Why did you choose that for us?
Let's see, that would have been 2 years ago. Well, just to be like honest with you, that was like, I was a pretty new entrepreneur. And so I was looking at what other people were doing, like, oh, well, this worked for them. And we were at the stage of our business together where we were just trying things. Like, I did not understand a lot of the intricacies of entrepreneurship. Like, you have to have an audience.
Yeah.
To pitch things to. Well, we didn't have an audience, right? And we were trying to like sell our retreats, and there was no audience, so no one was buying. And it was like, well, okay, next thing on the list to try, let's do a podcast. I knew that I always think that you're like this hidden diamond in the rough. Like, you have so much knowledge to offer from all the different education you have. Like, this should be accessible and available to the people, right? And I, of course, like, I'm a teacher at heart, a coach, teacher at heart, and I love teaching people things. So it was like, well, this is a great way to get us out there, right? Like, this is what other people are doing and being successful. We might as well try it, because I'm really great at like taking action. So I think that was why I was like, oh, this is what this, other people are doing this. They're successful. We should try it. And also, we have a lot of information to give, and I think that we should make it accessible to people. So that's kind of why.
That's perfect. So I didn't realize this when we first started Sorry, my light is bright. When we first started our podcast, okay, so I've just recently learned this through human design and looking at my human design is that, and I kind of knew this, but I didn't really like have the words for it or the understanding, is that I'm a little bit more auditory. And I never thought that about myself until I learned that, and I look back and I'm like, oh, well, this makes sense. This makes sense about why I didn't think that I would enjoy doing a podcast.
Okay.
Because I have enjoyed, doing our podcast together. I'm like, oh, it's because it's tying into that auditory piece and being able to, share the information with folks in a way that makes it accessible to people. So it's been a good match. Yeah. Thank you for suggesting it and getting the ball rolling for us.
Thank you for being you. And you're like, sure, Kim, we'll try that. Brainstorm, right? What do you want to try now? I will try it with you. Yeah. All right, my second question, because we just came up with questions for one another and we couldn't tell each other what our questions were. Where's your business headed? Like for these guys, for you guys, like Carmen has her own practice, her own physician practice. I have my own coaching practice, and then together we come together to mingle both of them together for our New Beginnings program. So where's your business headed?
So that is a great question. I don't know. So, my personal practice is Good Tree Natural Health, and it's expanding, and it's expanding in different areas. And it's one of those things. It's like, okay, what is that going to look like? I'm not really sure. Right. So I'm still getting to practice my passion in teaching people and kind of, teaching classes and being out in the community and making naturopathic medicine accessible to folks. So what that means and what that looks like is making things individualized, right? Like helping people find what that root cause looks like for them, helping them understand how naturopathic medicine can work in their life, in community talks, and like, okay, giving people sort of things to take home of like what they can start doing to change their lifestyle to promote healing in their body, right? And so what I'm looking at is still continuing to do one-on-one visits with folks, but there are a lot of folks who are looking for help, and there's only one of me right now. So I'm trying to find avenues or programs in ways that I can help more people, and people can still get individualized care, but that they can start a program or start a path to help them achieve the results they want to achieve, but still have access to me, but maybe not in such a one-on-one individualized sessions all the time, if you will. Yeah. So I'm looking at the potential of group consultations, right? So for example, if there are a handful of people who have a diagnosis, right? Something like diabetes or high blood pressure, right? That we would have we would have an individualized consultation, and then we would have a group consultation, whether that's in person or online. So people can kind of share their experiences, but so then they can learn a lot of the commonalities of that diagnosis.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, here's something that everybody with that diagnosis or everybody can do that would be beneficial. It's often those like first line things. So then we're kind of creating a community, they're getting the information, but then I can help more people and kind of spread things out a little bit more.
I have some ideas for you.
Yeah. So that's what I'm exploring right now. We'll kind of see how that unfolds. And trying to grow my business in area that I can have support in other areas, so that it's not as overwhelming for me as being one person trying to help all the folks.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
So very fun and exciting. But okay, so my question for you is, and this one might be a little bit tricky because it's 100 episodes. But do you have a favorite?
I have a favorite. Well, I love all the COVID ones. I think those are super interesting. But my favorite probably is episode 52.
Okay.
That one is the moment that we were talking about why processing your emotions is important. And when it clicked for me and the idea, the seed was planted for new beginnings, is because you were talking about serotonin and how we have to have adequate amounts to have self-confidence and rejection resilience. And at the time I was reading about Henry Ford and like Elon Musk, and it like clicked, like, oh, like, because I was asking myself what makes these people different. And it was like, oh, I wonder then if it's their serotonin is at adequate levels, and the rest, and there's a lot of us that have imbalanced neurotransmitters, and that's why we're not able to reach that level of success that they are. So I think that one's probably the most pivotal for me because it helped birth the New Beginnings program.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's sort of kind of that tipping point. I often refer folks to go listen to that podcast as well, because we covered a lot of really good information, and kind of that different perspective of, hey, that launched, right, the New Beginnings program, but this idea of, oh, okay, it's the neurotransmitters that can also be supported, physiologically alongside the thought work and life coaching to help us spring forward, even faster.
So that's mine.
Excellent.
All right, your question.
Okay.
Is there anyone, like, if you, I don't know, you listen to podcasts, whose podcast would you just absolutely love to be on?
Oh, okay. So I do listen to podcasts. I don't have a lot of variety in my podcasts, to be honest. And most of my podcasts are around naturopathic medicine.
Right.
But there's one, he doesn't really take guests, to be honest, but there is one doc, Dr. Paul Anderson, who has a podcast, and I never had him as a professor, but he did teach some like reviews for our boards. But he's very research oriented. He does have a private practice, and he's always kind of on the cutting edge of what the research says. He is on the board for several organizations and lobbyists with the FDA and with the government, who are trying to not necessarily oversee, but regulate, I guess, naturopathic medicine and nutraceuticals. And his brain is inspiring to me. And so he is one that I think it would be really cool to be on that podcast. Like I said, he doesn't have guests really very much, but to be able to interact with him and ask questions on a podcast and like see, how things kind of unfold for him when he answers questions is really exciting to me. So
hey, that will be your homework then. You have to reach out to him and ask him to be on our podcast.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Why?
Okay, I can try.
Okay.
Yeah. One of those, like, I would love for him to be my mentor kind of people.
Yeah.
Like I would love for him, to be my mentor. That would be, really exciting. All right. I can do that homework.
Yeah, it starts with an email.
True. And he answers most of his emails. Yeah. Okay. So, my third question is, what do you want the people to know?
How to manage their brain. Yes. I want them to, that's like my dream, because I truly believe to the core of me that if all the humans knew that how to manage your brain, that all their thoughts are optional, that most of them are not facts, and that their thoughts create their emotions, and their emotions is what drives their actions. They're either acting to get an emotion or acting to avoid emotion. And that creates results in their life. If they could like really understand that, right? I truly believe that we would be, if we didn't have world peace, we would be so close, because individuals would be taking full responsibility for their lives, and we would not have the saturation of victim mentality that we experience daily. Victim mentality to me is poison, and it causes humans to show up like humans do daily. That's what I would want them to know. Go hire a life coach and learn how to manage your mind.
Yes. Find a life coach to help you put that in daily practice.
And not all life coaches teach this, right? Like I didn't know this, but some of the life coaches out there are just about accountability. What do you want to do? Let's pick a goal account. No. You need to find a life coach. And of course, I'm biased, like from the life coach school, whether they're certified or not certified, I don't care. But as long as they're coaching out of that philosophy, which is all about your thoughts are creating your reality.
Yeah. True. I think that it's so beneficial to work with a life coach because it helps make those concepts practical, right? You can see and you can begin to see in your daily life, oh, all right. When you say thoughts are optional, like, okay, great, thoughts are optional.
Yeah.
Or you think, take accountability for yourself. Yeah, I want to take accountability for yourself. But when you're working with somebody who's like showing you what that looks like, makes so much more sense and does make life, easier, a little bit more manageable, a lot less stressful, because you can be choosy, and so love that. I think that that's underlined in a lot of our content, right, that we share, but hopefully, definitely.
I'm 41, and before life coaching, so I started in May of 2019, so that would have made me 38. Yeah.
Sure.
I will tell you the first 38, and I'm not exaggerating, the first 38, well, let me rephrase that because I cannot remember when I was before, like 10 or below. So let's say from 11 to 38, I did not enjoy life. Like I was one of those humans that was indoctrinated with, we kind of grind through life, and if you're good enough, you'll die and go to heaven. And that's where you get to have fun and enjoy things. And so like, life was a grind. It was not fun. I didn't enjoy it. I was always a victim. Right. And now that I know how to manage my mind, I'm like, oh, wow. Like life is really good. Like it's fun to be a human. It's fun to be alive. I'm excited to be alive. I'm excited to live and spend my years creating things and challenging myself. And like, it's light and fun. Yeah.
That's cool. So my history's been a little bit different in that I have had fun And that I've always had always been very optimistic, right? And always like, I'm definitely, people will make fun of me that I'm the, like butterflies and rainbows person. Yeah, that's me, right? Like, so I've enjoyed that part, but since working with you, what has changed is that things are not as overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right. So like I've always had a very, that optimistic life view, right? And worldview, and full of ideas, right? Like I've got lots of ideas and I'm a planner, but that taking those steps to make those ideas happen and like, unfold and like come to life has always been very challenging for me, where I get overwhelmed and it's like, oh, I freeze and it's hard to like move forward. And so since working with you, I've been able to like easily go from all the steps A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right, to make things unfold and to make them happen, and not getting stuck in this overwhelm and getting stuck in this like, oh my gosh, there are too many options, there's too many things, I don't know which route to go, I don't know which way to pick. And so it still makes things enjoyable in a different way, right? Because it's more like manageable, and being able to kind of manage that piece of my brain much more productive, and then I can actually enjoy the things that I accomplish. So
nice. So then I'll take the question for you then. I had a different one, but I'll ask the same question. Like, what would you want the humans to know?
So I would totally echo you in that I want them to know that they can control their health. They can control their mind, manage that brain and their thoughts, control your body, right? And your physiology. That the only person that has the biggest influence on your health is you, right? And so I want folks to understand that and realize that, so they can take control of their life and lead the life that they want, right? Be in that optimal wellness in that mind, body, and spirit. So I hope that through our podcast and through, sharing this information, that people are empowered and take a hold of those, nuggets that we share, to take control, of their life and of their health, so that they can be unstoppable, do what they want to do.
I think that's a perfect way to end episode 100 as well. Because we just want to empower you guys to take control of your life. And I love Carmen's perspective always is like optimal. That's just what, like, optimal health, optimal mental health, optimal emotional health, and an optimal life. Like, that is legit possibility for us. Most of us don't believe it is anymore because we've been taught otherwise, but it really is possible. And thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for all of our followers that have been with us since episode 1, which was probably just our friends and family. Thank you. Thank you to all of our new listeners, that we have made it to 100, and we are excited to continue to provide you guys valuable content. So
thanks.